As always, summer has flown by and we are looking at going back to school. How are we staring down school supply lists and wondering what happened to July? If you're like me and like I used to be, back to school prep probably feels like this scramble of shopping, half-check lists, and the panic thought, how do I keep my child safe at school this year? But I want things to be different, so I'm sharing some essential tips that I wish I had years ago, so you're not stuck reinventing the wheel every August. Listen to the end for my best tip that made the most impact on food allergy safety at school. You won't hear this anywhere else, so you may want to pause here and grab a pen and paper so you can take notes. Let's get to it. Hey food allergy mama, if you're here, you've likely experienced the scary and lonely food allergy diagnosis with your child. Unfortunately, food allergy parents aren't taught how to navigate the food allergy lifestyle, and it's easy to feel alone and discouraged sometimes. But I'm here to show you that food allergy life doesn't have to feel restrictive, scary, or isolated. I'm Corinna, and I'm a 17-year food allergy mom and food allergy coach at Friendly Pantry Consulting. I specialize in making food allergy life safer and less worrisome for food allergy families like yours. I'm not perfect, but over 17 years, I've learned a lot the hard way, and I'm sharing the secrets and resources you won't hear anywhere else that will help you feel confident living with food allergies faster and easier than I did. From introducing allergens, travel, navigating school, and educating friends and family, this podcast will give you the essential tips and strategies you need to help your food allergy child and family thrive. Welcome to the show. Did you know that I became a travel advisor? If you want someone to help you do the research and take the burden of planning a vacation off your shoulders, I can help. Email me at corinna.meckelborg@fora.travel to chat about your next trip. Or, if you're not ready to book yet, get on my email list where you'll get my best tips for traveling with food allergies. Sign up at www.friendlypantry.com/travel secrets. So this last week, I was a volunteer at our church's summer camp, and wow, did it ever bring me back. The singing, the games, the warm weather, it brings me back to that time when my girls were small. And there were a lot of good memories, believe me. But there were always a few things with food allergies that made me worry. Now, my girls are now 19 and 17, so things are quite different around here. But being at summer camp for a week, it brought back so many good memories, and also some of the memories of the struggles we had every year when school year comes around. So it actually prompted me to rewrite this podcast episode because I wanted it to be the most helpful it could be. And I learned a few things, and it reminded me of a few things that I wanted to share with you. Now, I want to put this out there that as with all of my episodes, I'm sharing what I've learned not because I'm perfect, but because I've learned the hard way and I want to make it easier for you. Because there's a lot to do before the new year starts, and I hope that this episode is going to make that whole thing a little lighter, more organized, and less lonely too. But first things first, we all want to jump into what we're going to discuss with the school and what we need them to do, but we need to do a few background things before we even get there. So that means we need to start by updating and organizing our medical paperwork. And this starts by making an appointment with your allergist as soon as possible. Trust me, the earlier the better, because getting an appointment right before school starts can be next to impossible because everyone's doing the same thing. Now, while you're visiting, you want to ask about your child's allergy action plan. So this is like your emergency action plan, and you can get a template from Food Allergy Research and Education, or your allergist might have one of their own. Then you want to ask your school for any necessary medication forms that they're going to need to be filled out by the allergist. And don't forget to get your allergist to refill those epinephrine injectors or inhalers, whatever you use, so that you can have one that works for the whole entire year. So now that you've seen your allergist, you can start to stock up on all your allergy school supplies. And I won't go into the full list because I did a whole episode already about this in episode number 26. So go back, listen to that, and check out that full list of school supplies for food allergies. But you definitely want to get your fresh epinephrine devices. Like I just said, you got that prescription and now you want to go fill it. But Hot tip here, do not be afraid to ask at the pharmacy to see what the expiry dates are of those epinephrine devices, and ask for a different one if it isn't good for at least a year. Now, I try and do this, I have forgotten, but I try and do this every single time. I look at those expiry dates before I even accept it from the pharmacy, and then I give it back if it's too old, because we deserve epinephrine that doesn't expire for at least a year. It is just too much to have to go halfway through the year and get it again. So do not be afraid to ask them to see the expiry dates and get a new one if needed. So you went to the allergist and you got that emergency plan updated. So now what you want to do is add a picture of your child, because you want it to be up to date so that the school can recognize your child and see that their picture matches them when they need to watch for allergy, all the allergy things. So I make mine up with the most recent school photos and I bring it with me to my school allergy plan meeting. The next thing that can take a little while to get is a medical alert bracelet, because this is what emergency teams look for. They're trained to look for, and it's a form of communication if your child ever needed medical attention and they couldn't speak for themselves. There are so many varieties and versions of these now, from plastic ones that can get wet for the younger kids to a little more utilitarian versions to the more beautiful, more stylish ones for older kids. So I don't skimp on this bracelet because my daughter has to wear it all day, every day. And I make a big deal about letting her pick one so I know she loves it. And I make sure to buy that one that is going to be comfortable for her. Because there's no use in having a medical alert bracelet if the kid is not going to wear it. And I have a blog post with some great tips for getting your allergy kiddo to wear the bracelet. And I will post a link to that in the show notes. Okay, so now the one that you're all waiting for is to meet with the school and make a plan with them. Here's where things get tricky, because I know that this can feel like the hardest part, but don't worry, I've got you. We're going to dig in here. So reach out to the school early to discuss your allergy plan. If you're in the US, that might include a 504 plan or even just individual accommodations. Remember, a 504 plan is not required, but it can be a good option to ensure allergy protocols are being met. That said, 504 plans are only available in the US, so depending on where you're listening to this from, you may or may not even have this option or any kind of formal legal plan available. But either way, a meeting is essential. Now, there's a few ways that you and your school might go about this, and it might mean a meeting with everyone there, like the school principal and the nurse if there is one, and the teacher and you, or it might be a combo of these. Either way, it is so important to meet with your teacher directly, because the teacher is the one who will be with your child the most throughout the day. They are the first point of contact, and they are the ones creating the policies for their classroom. So my preference is to meet with them one-on-one for a more relaxed feel, but depending on the school, they may require more people to be at the meeting. Either way, remember that teachers are very busy the week before school and up to a couple weeks after school starts. So if you can meet with them maybe 2 weeks before school starts, it might be the best time to get their full attention. Touch base with them as early as possible and let them decide what will work best for them. But I know you might be saying, Corinna, what should I even talk about when you meet? So here are a few tips that are actually going to be life-changing when it comes to how you manage food allergies at school. The first one is to assume the best. So when I go reading the Facebook groups, sometimes I see lots of negative comments about working with schools. And I think it can be discouraging, and it can cause new parents to head into school with kind of this like you versus me attitude. And I think that is a negative instead of a positive. Because here's the thing. Many teachers may not even understand that what they're currently doing is a problem for food allergies. They may not understand cross-contact or contamination, whatever you call it in your country. Or maybe they have a relative who has a dairy intolerance, and so they think that a little allergen is fine. I want to emphasize that this doesn't mean that they are trying to put allergy kids in danger or that they don't care. This is not true. The real problem is that they still need some education. But they won't sometimes be open to that education if we force it down their throat. So the first tip is to assume the best. Assume that the teacher and the school care and they want to help, because it's going to frame things in that positive light instead of going into it with a negative you against me scenario. Our goal every year is to work together with our teacher as a team. This collaboration, I feel, is essential to get the best outcome for our food allergy kids. The next tip is to not go in with a list of demands. And I know that this is not the intent to go in and demand a bunch of accommodations, but it's so easy to slip into this mode. I've done it myself. So when you're meeting that teacher, yes, you need to have your list of things that need to happen, but remember to take a deep breath and consider your tone. Remember, our goal is to create a team approach and open relationship with the teacher and the school. Tip number 3 is to get the teacher's attention. So this one is super important, but it's really hard to do. And when I say get their attention, I mean that they need to fully understand how important and serious food allergies are. They need to feel their own desire to get more training and understanding. Having their own desire for it is going to make it so much more impactful, and they will get more out of it. Because as I mentioned before, teachers don't often understand that what they're doing now isn't food allergy safe. They need more education in a lot of circumstances. So how do you do this? First, understand what they need to know. They need to know how to prevent a reaction, recognize a reaction, treat a reaction, and how to keep your child included. Now, way back when my daughter started school, we had to train teachers about all of these. They didn't have a lot of training or knowledge about food allergies at all. Now, things are slightly better, and usually teachers will get some sort of training at least about how to use an EpiPen. But again, that training isn't guaranteed. So how do you open that door and get that teacher to really sit up and take notice so they want to know more about managing food allergies safely? I know it can feel impossible, but my secret is to use statistics. Statistics about how allergies will affect the teacher in their classroom. And my secret weapon is a survey that was done by the makers of EpiPen. In this survey, they figured out where reactions occurred at school. And guess what they found out? The most reactions, almost 50%, happened in the classroom, and only 20% happened in the cafeteria. Surprising, right? You'd think it would be opposite from that. So at the beginning of the year, I send my teacher an email with a link to the survey, and I talk about how the chances are high that an allergic reaction could occur when the teacher is supervising. So I want to help them feel confident that they know how to prevent, recognize, and treat a reaction. I will also add that having a reaction in their classroom could be stressful and will be stressful for the kids, and I want to help them avoid that. So what I'm doing is flipping the script from being demanding and instead showing the teacher why it's important to them. It gives the teacher a desire because they see that allergies are real and important and can make a big impact in their classroom. I actually used a similar version of this email to get our principal to require that all teachers and subs take food allergy training when they didn't take any before. So I feel like this email is really powerful. And when teachers see how likely it is that a reaction could happen on their watch, it shifts everything. You're not just asking them to learn something extra. You're helping them protect their students and feel more prepared. That's the kind of motivation that opens doors. And in the School Success Pack, I go into more detail about that whole email that I send and how I word it. You can get the food allergy plan template that gives you a full list of things to talk about with your teacher, and then the School Success Pack that talks more about how to get your teacher's attention at www.friendlypantry.com/school. So I know when we first started school with food allergies, I had no idea what I should do and when. I hope that this episode gives you less stress and more confidence for you, your child, and your teacher this school year. If this episode was helpful, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating so that other food allergy families can find the podcast. Thanks for listening, and bye for now. Before you go, Mama, if you love this episode and want deeper support, head over to friendlypantry.com to see how we can partner together to keep your food allergy child safer and worry less. There's no need for wasting time searching all over Instagram, TikTok, and the web to get the practical knowledge you need for your family. While you're there, Grab your free Food Allergy Kids Empowerment Guide or the newly diagnosed checklist today. Topics are not medical advice and are the opinions, views, and property of Friendly Pantry Consulting Incorporated. All rights reserved. Always contact your board-certified allergist immunologist for health advice.